Hello, everybody. This is Sandra Pelli, the Sandini, the keeper of the inner dragon flame. I forgot who I was. As well as the galactic shaman. And I have a beautiful guest here in the get to know portion of our spring equinox gift giveaway, Growth in Motion. And that is the beautiful Maria Belanic. She supports parents living with loss so they can exhale, carry love and grief without pretending while finding their way forward. And that just, I know that I've been a part of that circle and have gone through my own grief period with some things. And you've been such a powerful piece of that. What does your journey and who you support, what can you tell us a little bit more about that, please, first?
Hello, Sandra. Thank you so much for what you do and actually bringing in awareness because one of the aspects is that when we experience any trauma or grief, a lot of times we don't even know who we're supposed to turn to or what we're supposed to do. There's that confusion, there's the fear, there's the overload. It's like if we could, those dolls that have those heads that keep going round and round and round is almost what we are. And you're right. And I thank you so much for saying that, that who I serve is parents, because I am a bereaved mom. And so grief is my lane, I like to say, in the sense of the death of a person is the lane that I'm in, and especially with parents, because I believe with parents, and I've experienced it firsthand, whereas parents, they have a little bit more leeway. People seem to give us parents a little bit more leeway, and then between, year two mark, everyone's just kind of looking around going, and why aren't you over it yet? Why are you? And it's really about how do we shift that perception? How do we sort of look at someone and go, they're grieving because they're missing their person? And that's really what caring love and loss is in one breath. As we breathe, we remember who's not here and we honor them by loving them. And
Yeah.
so asking someone, a parent, to say, well, stop talking about your child, stop sharing about them. It's like, how do we stop to breathe?
Yeah. You know what? I want to take that a step further. I am in the position where I've never lost a child. However, my daughter's best friend had committed suicide. And as a mother of a child who is grieving that loss, I grieve for her. I grieve like there's just so many nuances that I can relate to being a parent because there by the grace of God I could be walking in those shoes, right? And so I just wanted to really highlight that Maria helps parents who are dealing with a loss. And I think that, she's done as much for me having lost my daughter's best friend in I don't even know what I'm saying, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. And maybe you can expand on that just a little bit, Maria.
Well, and thank you so much, Sandra, for sharing your experience
Yeah.
of what it is that I do, because there's the belief that when someone goes and gets support, that all of a sudden we're fixing them. And that's an aspect that is incomplete because no one needs fixing in their grief. It's being acknowledged and it's being to say how you are ex expressing your grief is right for you. And so much times, I mean, we've all heard about the five stages of grief, and so many of us have fallen into that belief that it's the correct way of doing grief. Anything else is incorrect. And I would say, yes, it would be kind of like driving. Yes, we follow the rules of the road, but no one says to you, you have to be on, when you're driving, you have to can't move your hands away. You have to look at the road sort of like blinders on, where anyone who's driving knows you sort of have to look at what's surrounding you. You have to be defensive. And in some ways, grief is not only about what your own grief is, and as a griever, we're kind of looking around at what everyone else is experiencing. And in some ways, even though we acknowledge what someone else is experiencing, we don't take their pain off of them. And I get that. As a mom, we definitely do. We that's the first thing we want to do is how can we save you from pain? How can we put you in this bubble where you never have pain or experience that?
Mhm,
That
mhm.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. We could definitely make this whole conversation around this. However, I do have four very specific questions, and five actually, that I'd like to share and ask you. So bear with me here for just a moment. So this is going to be the emotional, physical, spiritual, and self-identity aspects. So this is a little bit more about who you are, the person, the Maria, okay?
Okay.
So we'll start with
Getting
the
real.
emotional one.
It looks like okay, and the winner is
What kind of emotional atmosphere do you love creating?
actually, I love creating a space where someone feels safe, where they just walk in and all of a sudden know that I got their back.
Mm. I can feel the power of that in so many ways. Again, I'm going to use my own experiences with you. The fact that you hold events similar to myself, where you're creating this space and people can come on and speak freely of their own experiences, is really a testament to you doing exactly what you just said. I can feel the power of that in such a beautiful manner. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, yeah. So now it's interesting because I'm talking about online. And do you do this personally as well? Like
No,
friends,
this comes
family,
on.
yourself?
Yeah, it's all on. I mean, my clients actually are on online.
Okay.
And that's one of the aspects that for many people, at first, they feel like, okay, online can it? And we've realized that even online, we can create a space that feels secure, that feels safe, that feels like it's a community, and it feels that a person is being
Yeah.
held in the safety of warmth, of comfort, and non-judgment.
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that portion in. And I'm going to kind of reframe the question that I just asked you is that do you do this for yourself, like at home or whatever, like not client wise, but just in your own life? Is this what you're also working
For my
towards,
own
playing
self,
with?
yes,
Yes.
definitely. Because one of the aspects of being a certified grief educator is it's the same thing when we say about the airplane and the oxygen mask. If we are not taking care of ourselves first and know our own boundaries, we cannot then support others. And that is something, because I know sometimes I have clients ask me that too. Are you okay when you sit with us? And I'm like, yes. Because even though I'm sitting with them, I am not taking on their pain. Their pain does not become mine. I have my own. And that doesn't enter the room when I'm working with them. It's also of how do I give my own self-care. And it really is, it's listening to our own bodies of what is it that's needed. Um, and with any business, really, or anytime we're supporting others, is what are we doing to say, does my body need rest? Am I nourishing my body? So we nourish it in all physical aspects, like the physical aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it, and the emotional aspect of it. I stay away from the word balance. I say we harmonize. So that
Mhm.
way, at times, maybe my physical aspects needs more than my emotional and spiritual. At other times, maybe it's my spiritual that needs more. And so when we're dealing with harmony, harmony doesn't look at, oh, I got to do a third, a third, a third.
I could just keep saying this is so powerful, this is so powerful. Maria, this is really it's really hitting home for me, and I hope it is for the other listeners. One of the things that I'm really noticing in speaking with yourself and the other people that I've already created the get to know portion is how much the body is really being honored and recognized this year in 2026. It's just really, really beautiful how it seems like every one of us has said something about the body. So I love that. And I really appreciate your gifting the audience with the word harmonize versus balance because it's like the word dream. Sometimes people have a hard time thinking that they'll actually accomplish a dream. However, a vision they might be able to accomplish, right? And so giving them that word harmonize over balance is like I say, that's a beautiful gift. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. And language is important. And the other thing about language is language has to sit well with the person.
Yeah, very much so. Are you ready for the next question?
Next one for the prize. No.
This is the physical one. The nature setting that fills your lungs the fullest.
Oh, and isn't that amazing? Because I use exhale so much. Yes, and respiratory. One of the things that I always like to say is that when we're walking around in pain, we actually walk around almost like we're holding our breath. And there's only so long that we can hold our breath before our body goes, you gotta release, you gotta release. Otherwise, it shows up in different ways. And that's really what it is. So, nature can be the walking. I mean, I know you're an avid mountain biker. I like walking in nature, and I'm one of these walkers that loves to see the different colors of leaves or of grass, or noticing what kind of birds are out there and distinguishing between the different birds, even if it's two of the same breed. So, no, sometimes it could be just the simplest thing. And a lot of times we kind of want to complex things rather than saying breath is so simple. We can go out in a park where there's greenery and quietly breathe in the air that is coming from the trees, coming from the vegetation, and allowing our breath to exhale and leave it, right? And then all of a sudden, our shoulders get softer, our body just relaxes and kind of grounds in with the, okay, I love trees and the roots. So the groundness of the ground, of the earth.
I'm so glad that you said something about specifics because I was going to go, yeah, I want to hone you in, but you just did with the trees and the roots and the ground. When you think about the nature and how it fills your lungs and how you described the exhale and really recognizing the areas that you do like to be in or giving yourself permission to go on that walk, going and really feeling into the energy of the trees and the roots and that. Like I know roughly where you live. And just, I could just imagine so many different types of things, like just even the birds that are around where you live versus the birds where I live. Like there's so many different aspects of nature, and that you honed it in and spoke of the trees. I can feel a lot of power in that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And one of the aspects is that times I always go, not everyone is going to be athletic. Not everyone is going to go hiking or mountain biking. Sometimes it's a walk in your neighborhood. And you're right. I am very fortunate that I live in a city that does have a lot of trees. We have a lot of parks that are close by and trails. So it makes it easier.
I'm giggling because I sound like a stalker. I know where you live.
Well, and you
Um,
live in a beautiful part of your province.
yeah, this is true. Let me bring up the next question. This is the spiritual one.
Mm,
Who or what guides you during uncertain seasons?
mm. Well, that one's always been my faith. So I do believe in God and divine, and however someone wants to call that, everyone can have their own name. I say God. And so because of my religion, then yes, I also have like the saints and Mother Mary that for me have always been with me. So one of the aspects is as a young girl, God has been with me throughout my son's illness. And Sandra, you know that my son had an incurable blood cancer for 11 years. So with all of that, that has always been there. And even when he died, one of my aspects was I felt being held by God,
Mm.
like just sitting and just being held. And one of my aspects that I always go is it's okay to be angry at God, to be angry at the universe or the divine. Many people believe that if they're angry, then they don't have faith. That's not faith. Faith is still believing that there is an outside source outside of us where we're connected to each other. And my line has always been God didn't discuss anything with me. That's one of the things that's on my list. I
Oh,
didn't care for the outcome.
I so appreciate you giving people the permission to be angry at God, source, divine, whatever it is. I think that being human is being human.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And one of my aspects is I have conversations with God. God is um, basically my best friend.
beautiful. I love that. I feel very emotional listening to you. I appreciate what you're speaking, and I can feel the energy of the beautiful message that you're delivering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go with the self-identity next. What part of you feels newly emerging?
That's a good question. And it's one that I always go, it's taken a while. I look at life as always evolving. There's always aspects of myself that have come out. One, I know in my younger days, in my late 20s, early 30s, people wouldn't recognize who I am today back then. And the reason I say that is because no one understands what a true introvert is. I would definitely have been a hermit because I'm fine with staying with my own company and not being around with people. I like the solitude. And I chose to be uncomfortable in making myself get out of that. And so I find that one of my intentions is usually what else can I expand myself into? And so this is my season of, I guess in the last couple of years, is of being a speaker, is also of using my voice and my message and how do I get out of there. Last year I ended up going to Oxford to speak. So that to me was wow and awe-inspiring and very uncomfortable. And it's one thing to say, yes, I'm in home and I can be on a podcast, which still feels a bit safe. And so one of my aspects is really how do I get out into a live stage, into more people and making an impact in their lives. Not so much about my messaging, it's the impact is to make sure that the person feels that they are fine in their grief, that they're okay, that it's not about saying, I feel broken and how am I going to fix myself? So many times that's the attitude that many of us take. How I need to fix myself. Hey, I used to do that too. I spent 10 years of my limbo years after my son died doing that. And what I have experienced is that when we acknowledge ourselves, when we look at saying, okay, my life now is different and it's not of my choosing, And sometimes maybe it is. My speaking aspect is of my choosing. My son's dying is not, as are many parents or anyone who has experienced the loss of a loved one. That is not our choosing. What I also want to have people know is that when we are in this path, it's a different path. It's not better, it's not worse, it's different. And so then how do we move forward in this different path that we are given?
I want to reflect back what I hear you saying, and please do amend where needed or if necessary. What I've heard is actually a coming through many different seasons, emerging, because that was kind of the question, and starting out with this really attempting to heal yourself when in reality it was finding yourself in all of what you were doing. And from there, being able to, once you've found yourself, really understand yourself at a far deeper level so that you can actually share with other people how they can then walk the path of finding themselves through the grief and the loss. Because it is, it's human nature to think that you have to go through something a certain way. So really, you invite people to be themselves in
Hmm.
that.
And
Just,
and
and you had to become yourself first, though, right?
oh, definitely. And in one of the aspects, I mean, I would change rather than saying finding is accepting, because really we've always been ourselves. Um, we've evolved at different times. We may have different opinions at different times because of our experiences. Who we are at the core really stays. And most of the time that I've seen, and many of us have done that through our younger years, through anything else like that, we want to fit in the version of what other people think we're supposed to be, rather than choosing, this is who I am at this time. This is the version of who I am at this time. And accepting it and saying, yeah, I'm okay with who I am. And if someone else does not accept it, that's on them.
Yeah, beautiful. I love the finding.
Mm.
I think the accepting. I mean, you changed finding to accepting, and I love the accepting versus finding because I think you're absolutely correct that we are who we are. We have to accept who we are.
Well, and that's the thing. And this is why one of the reasons I always go, language is so important, because sometimes there are words that we may not know of a different word and we use one word and it doesn't sit with us. And when I hear the word finding, finding is almost like I gotta dig deep to find where I am and am I in there or not? And you're right. And acceptance just means, yeah, this is who I've always been. I've maybe changed, and not changed as in the same as changing. Changing means that with the different experiences, with maybe being curious, we adjust our viewpoint, our perspective, because everything always comes from our own viewpoint and our experience. And so when we're open to more, then we can say, yeah, that is how I feel about myself, or things like that. And also then when we accept ourselves, we can accept someone else for who they are.
And because you're speaking about the words that we're using, I also want to really change what I just said because what I just said is we have to find or we have to accept ourselves. You can obviously tell I used the word find, apparently. Uh, I would actually like to shift that to there's an invitation there to accept ourselves in a
Mhm.
much more powerful way.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, thank you. What through all of like you've just given people so many nuggets here of gold, platinum, silver, bronze, copper, whatever it is that they personally need in this moment. Love, mindset shifts, changing words, just so many little bits and pieces. What is growth in motion to you? Because that's what this spring equinox gift giveaway is all about is growth in motion. So what is growth in motion for you personally?
Growth in motion for me comes back to my pillars of care. And so I was, when you looked at, when you had said the growth in motion, and I get it. Most of the time we think of growth as in how can I accumulate more? How can I change my status or things like that? And for me, growth comes, how am I caring for myself and the people that I meet? And this is one of the reasons that I say the pillars of care, because care is that acronym of compassion, compassion for myself, compassion for others. Acknowledge where I'm at. And again, it's always without judgment, because I always go, without judgment has to be the important line. And also release anything that we are holding that is not serving us, or even releasing judgment of ourselves and of others. And of course, the E is the exhale, is that we, breath is life. And when we exhale, we're allowing all of it to fit in our lives. And that's, I think, the aspect is that of growth is saying where you are, how you're going to fit your success in your growth period works for you.
Mhm.
Someone else may not. And I think we started off the conversation of that in the sense of, people will tell us, oh, is that the right thing to do? Is that not? Well, they're basing it on their choices or their experience, which is not your own.
Yeah.
And everything has to come back to what are your core beliefs? How do you have care for yourself? And are you following that on your own?
I love that. This has been really, really incredible and beautiful. Just as I mentioned, you are at the beginning of this. You have two gifts. We're not going to go into great depth with them. That will be showing up in emails as well as on the web page when it comes up. Your first gift is the Exhale Forward, which, I mean, you've been speaking about exhale and how important that is all along. So, exploring that. And then your VIP gift for those who choose to have the VIP experience is the grief journal. And that feels very, very magical. I've actually been able to access that myself. So um, these gifts are available during the gift giveaway, which is March 17th to the 25th of 2026. Is there any last words that you'd like to share with the audience before we wind up, Maria?
Well, I want to have the audience know that where they're at is perfectly fine and they are okay. And to at times, sometimes we just need the hug, and it's good to even just give ourselves the tapping hug, right? That human connection, that having community.
Thank you so much, Maria. We'll see everybody at the gift giveaway. Thank you.